Hey everyone, welcome back to the Improv TX Comedy Network. If this is your first time checking out the podcast network, we appreciate it. Please head over to your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, or iTunes, and give the Improv TX Comedy Network a like. And just a reminder, the Improv TX Comedy Network is live on YouTube with all your favorite comedians on the improv stage. All links can be found in the description. And with that, on to the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to the Act Out. From open mics to the big stage, comedians tell us stories they've made. Today, I'm super excited. I'm a little bit nervous, I'm not gonna lie, because this comedian that's on today is one of my heroes, and I mean that. The comedian we're talking to today is awesome, he's amazing, he's hilarious, he owns the stage. I'm so excited. We're talking to Joel Runnels Jr.
I was thinking that you was talking about somebody else at first. I appreciate it.
No, dude, you're one of my heroes. You're written large in the mythology of comedy for me. Because you were there in the beginning. You were the first comedian I ever talked to. You were so sweet and kind to me. Like, you didn't know me, but you were just so decent to me. And I was just like, oh, all comedians are going to be like this. Yeah. And then they weren't.
Right.
It is what it is. Joel, I appreciate you being here. We are promoting the show. It's going to be December 22nd and 23rd. Next week, Christmas show is going down. Right. You are headlining.
Christmas Eve. I got my boy Kenny Weeks. He's going to be the host.
Kenny's awesome.
I'm always clowning with him, but my boy, we do good shows together. And then we'll have Rob Ross. So we'll have some, me, I like to mix it up.
Yeah.
Have some diversity and it's an all-pro, adult show.
Right on, yeah. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to be so much fun. You have to come out and check out the show. Arlington Improv. Like I said, the 22nd and 23rd.
The 22nd and the 23rd is Christmas Eve. We have two shows on the 23rd, 7:30 and 9:45. So you get a good comedy show in before Christmas Eve, and you get around people that you want to be around, but you don't really want to be around.
Yes, this is the truth. So let's start from the beginning. First of all, how long have you been doing comedy?
Oh, man. Last time I told somebody that, they took it and used it against me in court. 20 years plus.
20 years plus?
Yeah, 20 years plus. And I mean, I admit when I first started out, it was kind of like, it was choppy. I didn't understand. I started out at a comedy club. Actually, Steve Harvey had a comedy club right here in Dallas, Texas in Oak Cliff. I started, but it closed like 6 months after I started. So I was in kind of like in limbo. I didn't know, to network. I just thought, when I first started, you just be funny and everything would take care of itself.
Right.
And that was wrong, but I started there. And so I kind of, was in spaces doing comedy. Once I started networking and, comedians say, hey, come by. And it just kind of grew back. But it's still, and then at one point I got my feelings hurt too and took like a couple of years off. And,
really?
Right, yeah.
That's wild to hear that you say that, because I get my feelings hurt sometimes too, because comedians are sensitive people.
Oh yeah.
And I'll take a couple weeks off or something like that, and it really hurts. But like you said, you took a couple years.
Yeah. Like I told you, I started out in the comedy club, so I was kind of spoiled and didn't know it, and I had to go out and find my way. And luckily, that's why I love the opportunity to be at the Improv, and I always take it. I don't ever take it for granted, because I've been in spots where it's like, we really doing comedy here. You know what I mean? Like, I've been in kitchens and without a mic, fighting TVs, fighting audiences. Wow. I mean, people. And it's so hard to go and just do comedy in these little places, but that makes you. So that kind of made me, it kind of broke me, but then it kind of made me, come back, because I wasn't losing. Like, when I first started, I think when I got booed the first time, that brought a sense of urgency to what I was doing. And the setup was like this. It was a big club. It was here in Dallas, Texas, called that Guatemala. I don't know if you remember that, but I was born and raised here, so I've seen a lot of things come and go. But it had these different rooms, and it was always packed. They had a party room. They had maybe a stripper room, a cigar room. You know how they do it. And then they had a room where we was doing comedy shows, right? And even with the door closed, you could still hear the music in the other room. So you had to grab people's attention and hold it. You couldn't tell a story and talk at a normal voice. You had to kind of like raise it up a notch, right? Yeah. And man, I got booed, and I took it hard, but I came back the next week and I had that sense of urgency, and it worked. I realized I gotta be, it's almost like I am now, But I learned another level to that, but that got me through. And I came back, did the same, like a week later, did the same thing and did great. A guy even, give me one of those handshakes where they like that. And it was some minute. I was like, oh, he gave me $5 or $10. It was $50.
Oh, damn.
Oh, and I was like, oh, I can make some money doing this too if I'm serious. So that was a big moment for me. And as far as, starting out and doing comedy.
I was going to ask next, you already said it, you were born and raised here in DFW, right?
Yes, sir.
So you've been here your whole life pretty much?
Well, I moved around a little bit, but for the most part, my mother lives in Oklahoma City, so I went back and forth when I was younger before comedy, and then after I was here for a while, I moved to New York, Queens, New York for a couple of years. I was actually in Brooklyn and Harlem and then Astoria, so my brother lives there. But I was going through another transition in my life, where I was working in radio here, and I know you probably would want to talk about that too.
Yes.
But when they let me go, I went to New York to fully pursue comedy like I really wanted to. And I was able to. I was able to get on the mic like 2 or 3 times a day, 6-7 days a week. It's they're doing comedy everywhere over there, like I said. And that right there just really, it built me to where it's like, I'm like this. I mean, I'm there. Like I'm forever in it. Even if I don't, make it like the big time or whatever, I'm here and I'm strong. I'm just not, because I think it's so much politics into comedy making it right. And they don't want no old guy. I'm not that old, but I'm old as far as a guy being groomed and developed. Basically, I got my own opinion.
Yeah. But that's a good thing, I think. And you have a work ethic because you've worked on like your YouTube channel. You have skits, you have videos. Your roast videos are hysterical.
Right.
I loved when you put those out. That was like one of my favorite things. I'd be like, oh, what's he talking about today?
Oh, yeah.
And so you were constantly creating content. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And then, like you said, you were on the radio. You had, what was it, the Junebug Show? Is that what it was?
Well, actually, I was on Skip Murphy and Company morning show, so it really wasn't actually my show on, I don't know if you might be talking about my podcast I did recently, but I've been in a radio station, like it was service broadcasting. We were the #1 show here in the DFW. I mean, Skip Murphy Company, Nene Lee, Sam Putney, Wig, Chris Arnold, those are legends in radio, and it was a pleasure for me to be a part of that. And that's how I kind of got in it, doing comedy, and I would see these guys at places. They would do contests. I would show up. Actually, what really solidified it, I was doing the Addison Improv. Nene Lee had a Fat Tuesday, and I was living in Oklahoma, so every other week I would drive 3 hours just to perform there. And I had such a great time, and I ended up making friends with a lot of people at the radio, and it's like, oh, radio, this would be a good spot for you. You should be in radio. This should happen. And then I had a guy that kind of took me under his wing. He was answering the phones at the radio station, and he was working like, I guess 4 days a week, and they had a girl that was doing 1 day. She was going to quit, and he was training me to, fill in her for her spot. But what happened was the irony of the guy that was training me, they was targeting him to fire because he was so rude to the people, because Skip Murphy still is, but he was really big in that time. So people was calling me like, hang up on him. I'm like, I wouldn't do that. Why would you? Yeah. If somebody really wants to talk to somebody, why would you do that? Like, why would you treat them like that? So, but that guy ended up getting fired. I ended up working 5 days a week, answering the phones at the radio station. And I grew into a personality because they started inviting me into the room.
Oh, wow.
I was a producer of the show. I wrote a lot of skits for them, a lot of top tens for Nanette, Skip. I filled in for Sam when he was out, Chris Arnold, even Skip Murphy. So I was like a jack of all trades and just grew. And it kind of grew because a guy, the phone part I told you about, but then a guy didn't show up that was supposed to work the streets after my shift. And I just went and did that because I was the comedian, so I wasn't afraid to go to say, hey, I'm at Burger King in the K104 Hummer. Come on, holler at me. I'll buy you a Whopper with cheese, that was fun for me. So it was nothing. It was like not even a thought. And it just grew, man. It just grew until I was a morning personality on that morning show. It was epic, and I was on a street team, and it just...
Yeah, everyone knows you. That's the thing, is I would say, oh, I went to, Joel's show the other night, and people would be like, oh, and they knew you by the nickname at the time.
Right, yeah.
They knew you as
Junebug. They called me a Junebug on a radio show. Yeah, absolutely.
And so I would say, hey, I went to Junebug show. They're like, you went to Junebug show? Like, that's crazy. And like, when's the next one? And all that stuff. So you're very well known within the DFW area. Maybe even further. I mean, that was one of my questions. You've headlined here multiple times. but also all around DFW. Probably outside the state of Texas, right?
Right,
so
right.
You've been a national comic, right?
Right. Yeah, I throw shows in Oklahoma. I always sell them out. I just throw them myself. I mean, I wish it was an Improv in Oklahoma. Maybe we need to talk to him about that. But I did the shows in New York. I went to California a little bit, and I've been to Baltimore. I was on tour with Mike Epps, so I did a lot of, he kind of, when he would come to this region, he would let me do things like that. So I've been all the way to Brownsville, Harlingen, Texas, Weslaco, all along all these little San Angelo. I mean, any little Texas town, I probably much been to it. I've done Job Corps, those with the bad kids.
Yeah.
Where they're supposed to be getting skills.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I did shows at Job Corps, man. It was so funny because you have to be clean, but, those kids are not interested in anything.
Yeah.
But, all kind of shows, all kind of bars, all kind of outside venues. It's been a good journey, and I don't know if, a lot of comics understand that. They'll maybe, now, with the internet, somebody's on the internet and they tell a few jokes on YouTube, oh, they're a comic. Yeah. But to me, and it's nothing against anybody, because a lot of people want to be something they're not on the internet, and they try to do it, but if you get on stage as a comic, it's nothing like that feeling. And I think that's where you can say I'm a comic, because you actually got on stage in front of people you didn't know and took a chance. And that's hard to do, and you'll get the feedback right then.
And like you said, it can hurt. It can hurt.
But it'll build you. You'll understand, I can't waste these people time or their money. I can't be just sitting there wasting time. A lot of people do that nowadays.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've seen quite a few comedians that probably shouldn't be on stage. And I agree with you, the YouTubers, but they get on stage, they suck. They really do. Because they don't have the experience. They don't have 20 plus years of experience dealing with crowds and hecklers.
Not even a couple of years.
Yeah, they're so fresh and raw that they're basically open micers that are on stage. And it's not good.
Yeah. And with respect to that, I will say, hats off to some of those guys that could build followers. To me, it's just because you don't know. I've put together some great skits, well thought out, and I put it on and it doesn't hit. So I'm like, it's something else. Yeah. It's something else. And some of the ones that I don't expect to hit, they hit. So it's a different type of beast, because I can't get a feel for it. I can't get a feel of just doing something in silence. I'm so used to having a crowd and looking at people and feeding off people. It's amazing.
Well, we should talk about your YouTube channel then, because it's Joel Runnels Jr.
Yes.
And it's got skits on it. It's hilarious. The Popeyes chicken sandwich skit, I was dying laughing at that.
It's rated R.
It's hard R.
I know we're in the Improv, but on my channel, it's open and it's just honest, and I say things. I mean, it's just shrinking down, man. Like you say, you like my roast.
I love the roast.
But
videos.
Do you know a couple of them has been taken down because it said it was considered bullying and harassment? That's what hurts me nowadays about doing comedy. That's why I say I love it. I'll always do it live, but I don't know if I can make it through the online thing unless they get things in order. And the guy I roasted, one of them, I don't know if you've seen it, it was a guy, he was arrested. He was a criminal, right? But his neck was kind of thick. And I talked about it, man. It was so funny. They took the video down, and then this guy just recently got arrested again. So I could have put it on remix.
Right.
It got a lot of views from people that I didn't even know. Cause I was just letting it rip. So,
do you find yourself having an issue with that PC culture kind of?
Oh, absolutely,
right
absolutely.
Now, where I know the clip we have on the YouTube channel is you talking about that. They changed everything. You know what I mean?
And I kind of seen that coming, and so I kind of backed off. I should have fought through it, but I seen that coming, and I was trying to rethink my approach. And also, I had a whole change of, we change every 7 years, so the things I used to think, I don't think them anymore, and I want to be true to myself. So I kind of, it became to a point where you just want to leave politics alone and just get back to the laughs. That's where I'm at right now. I want to get back to the laughs. I want to, and try to entertain, but I'm still going to be edgy, and my things might not make it past because I'm just, like you said, that the Popeyes chicken thing, the stuff I say, you can't say it. They took, nowadays, they took Aunt Jemima off the syrup, they took Uncle Ben off the rice, but they still left the Quaker Oats man. So, what are they really doing? Because if they're talking about it's racist to have a person on a box, but I think iconic for somebody to be on a box because it shows like how far back it goes to everybody being able to do something. And it's weird nowadays because everything is racism, is this and that. I just think it's just overplayed way too much now.
Absolutely.
I really do. If people just get back to loving each other, quit looking at that, because things happen anyway. You know, the same things they're pointing out happens with people within the same race of people. So it's just bad people. It's bad people and it's good people. You know, you got evil people that's going to do things no matter what color their skin is. It's going to happen for the rest of our existence.
And it's got to be when we find common ground. And that's what comedy is. Whenever somebody can tell you the truth about whatever subject is brought up, and then you have a conversation about it, and you can actually laugh. And laugh at our differences, but laugh at our commonality. Right. And that's the thing is like you said, it doesn't matter what color your skin is, which nationality you are. We have common things. We all have like a brother we can't stand. Or a cousin.
Right. Family member you don't want to see for the holidays.
Or we were spanked growing up or whatever, you know what I mean? Like it's all about commonality. And I love that too. And it's universal comedy. And that's something we were kind of talking about. You told me once, you know, I get kind of stereotyped or typecast into this, you know, I'm a black comedian.
Right.
But you told me I'm not a black comedian. I'm an everyone comedian.
Right. Absolutely.
So what was your perspective on that?
I am. Just like you said, I like to pull everybody together. When I went to New York, that really, because being in Texas when I first started, I was only going to certain places. Because, of course, I want to feel like, you know, people say, I want somebody to look like me, right? And really they're saying my skin color. I want to get their approval first and then go out into the world. I was looking at it wrong. And I was writing really complicated jokes. And, I mean, they were getting more complex. But the places I was going, they were like, you're not funny. Because they didn't want to sit. They didn't want to sit and think. So I just started realizing differences. And so I went to New York. And I got to see a lot of different cultures. Where I was living, it was over 100 different dialects.
Oh, wow.
And I even went to a hostel. I didn't even think those things was real. I seen the movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't go.
But I went to one and did a show, and I had everybody laughing. And it was people from Japan, China, Africa, England, London, Australia. And they barely spoke English, but they were able to laugh at what I was saying. And it kind of makes you feel good to know that they can relate no matter what language they speak, country, how far on the other side of the earth they are on. They were all laughing at one thing I said. And it still amazes me to this day. But it also gives me confidence to know that I just did a show, all white people. I was the only black man there. I even joked about that, but I absolutely killed it, and they loved it, and I loved them. I wanted to hang out with them. It was so fun. It was like a private party. The lady wanted me to roast her husband, and I roast him so good. I was like, look at this, you know, he had a sweater on, like he got a Bill Cosby sweater on, you know, and they was laughing. This guy had he's a guitar player, and he had these fingernails. I'm like, oh my God, what in the Count Dracula is going on here? It was so much fun. It was so much love. And it just like almost like race didn't exist. Yeah. And I feel like it wouldn't be an issue if it wouldn't be constantly thrown in our faces, right? Because let's just face it. Ever since being in this country, being here, I was born in America, but I mean, I don't understand it. But if we was able to focus, not worry about that so much, we could get so much more achieved and things would go on. But I think actually in the real world, people are doing that. Mm-hmm. But I think they'll say, well, it's not enough this type of people on this and that. But black people are only 13% of the population. So it's going to be some towns where you go and it's all white people. And I've never had a problem in those towns with the cops or anything. Like nothing. Like we go and talk, my friend Kenny that's on the show with me, we go and laugh and joke in the gas station. The next thing you know, everybody's watching us and laughing. I mean, you know. Yeah. And that's not what I see when I go to these little towns. Because, you know, I do think that, you know, because you go and you don't see any black people. But that's how it's set up right now. That's just how the population is. And I'm okay with that now. There's black people in other places. And that's cool, too. They're in other places. I'm blessed to be where I'm at. But I've never had a person hold me back because of the color of my skin. Nobody said, no, I don't want you. I have probably more white people hiring me on a website. My pictures on the website and my videos are up. They hire me for more my percentage of getting gigs on, but I get everybody. White people, Mexican, I have an Indian, I have black. I've done all.
And you can talk to anyone, like, because you're in a multiracial marriage. Is that what the right term?
Right. Yeah, my wife is Mexican.
Yeah, and your son. What did he say? Black.
My son is Blaxican. Right. Yeah, so he's a black and Mexican. You know, we take him to Ross and let him tear up the place, and then after he tears it up, he helps clean it up. Blaxican.
But so you have this like diversity where you can, like, you told me once, like, you speak a little bit of Spanish, don't you?
Oh yeah, just a little bit. Poquito.
What is poquito?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Poquito Español, señor.
But you were saying, like, I can talk to any audience, anyone who comes in here, I can be comfortable with, like, you know, and it sucks that you get put into that box.
Right.
You shouldn't be put in that box.
Yeah, it does, but I don't think about a box. I just ignore, I just do what I do right now. I just want to do a show with good people that want to laugh, basically. So whoever it is want to hire a comedian, universal, I could be clean, I could be dirty. At first I was like, oh, this is just too much like some people, but I'm going to be straight up with you. It is a difference between black comedy and white comedy. Now you got some black comics that can do white audiences like me, and you got some white comics that could do black audiences. It's universal, but it's a difference in the way people laugh. I think white people are more, open to the fact that they will give you the benefit of the doubt and listen to your story and get to the end of it, and they might silence you to death if it's not funny because they want to laugh too. But black people like, oh, he acted a fool. They don't really just say, oh, he said this joke. Some of my people do, but they just want to see you act a fool. And and then it's different environments. Like, like I said, improv is such a great platform, and a lot of people don't realize the value of a comedy club, right? Because most of the time we're out, as a comic trying to come up, you're doing shows at bars, and they want to have the TV on. They want to have music. They have a DJ doing music, and he cracking jokes while he bring you up, and he want to interrupt your punchline and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so it's just weird that everybody wants to be a comic outside of the comedy club and outside of the effort as getting up on stage by yourself and talking to the crowd.
One thing I will say is I love black crowds, and the reason why is because if you're not funny, they're not going to laugh.
We're not.
But if they find you funny and you can crack that joke that gets them, that, like, it's such a wonderful experience.
They're going to give it up.
It's joy. You know what I mean? And, like, black folks, they
give it up. Yeah.
Yeah. They fall out of the chair. Like, I've worked here for 7 years. You know what I mean? And, like, I can't even tell you how many times people backed up into me. And I just, like, love it because I'm just like, that joyousness of, like, getting caught up in the comedy is amazing.
Exactly. It's a thing, though. Like, you're right. Like, you said it. Like, black people give it up. That's what I learned when I went to New York. And it's like a culture of comedy there. Texas, some people are still being trained on the live arts, live entertainment, being there. You have to know how to be here, too. Because some people try to scroll through their phone and halfway watch you. You can't watch. It's not watching art. Yeah. So I went to New York, and I used to watch Def Jam. That's what inspired me. But I went to New York, and those people were laughing like they're, like, running up the aisles. And that is just, I've seen, when I first go, I used to watch this dude, man. It was Clipper, man, out of Detroit, man. And this guy was hilarious. And he was just, the people were getting up and running back and forth down the aisle. That's how black people are. That's how church is.
Yeah.
That's how our fights are. When somebody get knocked out, they, oh! If somebody done, oh! I've noticed the younger white kids do that because they like that. They be, oh! Somebody dunk or fight,
Yeah, it's joyous.
It's so funny. So I think it's kind of like a shift, really, what's going on. And we're almost pretty much the same, This show I did with these white people recently, it surprised me how hard they were laughing, like the roar got. And that's what comics really long to hear is a roar. If you're hearing a roar or you're hearing that, that is nothing like it.
Yeah, it's amazing. I do want to ask, the first time that you went on stage, were you nervous at an open mic? what was that experience like?
Like I told you, I started out at Steve Harvey's Comedy House, and it was open mic. It was a spot they had for new comedians, and what was crazy, I'll just tell you the story. I know you asked me a question, you opened up a can of worms. I kept going to watch, right? I was just observing. So I finally went on the night they did open mic, and the stage manager asked me, she said, "Are you a comedian?" And I was just like, "Yeah." I hadn't been on stage, I hadn't did anything. I was just watching, but I just said, "Yeah." And she put me on the list to go up.
Oh.
Right, and they posted it on the wall, and I was number 2, because that's when you knew they put you number 1 and number 2. And I went up, and I was so afraid. The stage was like in a corner, so it cornered, and I just turned my back and told the jokes. I was terrified, Doug. I had my back. I still can't believe I did this, but I had my back to the audience. I told my jokes, and the comedians was dying laughing when I got off stage. They was like, "Man, you would have killed it if you would have just faced the crowd." And ever since then, I have no problem facing the crowd.
Yeah.
That's what I had to face my fear, and it just emboldened me. And then guess what? Later on, the stage manager was Erykah Badu.
No way.
Yeah, so when I started my career, I was working with Erykah Badu before she was Erykah Badu.
Oh my God.
She was just, yes, and she was so cool. I mean, she just like she is now, but, without the incense and stuff. She was, in the singing, she was like a comedian, though. She has this incredible timing. I mean, she's so in tune. Like, every time I run into her, we cool. We just sit and talk for a long time. She hooked me up with some tour dates and things like that. So I really appreciated that. But yeah, that's my first time though. I tell this story and people are like, "What? You turned your back?" I had my back turned, man. It's like you coming in front of all these people and just turn your back and tell a joke, and I did that.
I mean, but it got you there, and it got you to catch the bug, where
right.
you like, I want to do it again. So were you back next week and the week after?
Oh yeah, no, I was in. Like. The thing is, like I said, it closed in 6 months, so it was going through a transition, and people didn't see me, but then the person that did recognize me was Shucky Ducky, and he would always give me my props, and I've seen a lot of comedians come and go over there, and they had a competition right before it closed, and I won the competition, but like I said, I just thought you just get into comedy, and you get funny, and then everything will just take care of itself.
Right.
Nope. Wrong idea. Yeah. And I never knew. I was cool with people, but I just never knew to try to work myself into positions or talk more, ask more questions. That's what I wish I would have did. But I'm happy where I'm at right now. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think you're doing great. And like I said,
I appreciate
you're
it.
Headlining the shows. Like, I know you're a favorite of this club. Like, like I said, you're written large in my mythology. You know what I mean?
I appreciate
I look at you as, like I said, one of my heroes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. And I appreciate that and the opportunity that this club has given me, the Arlington Improv, because it's kind of like what I wanted. Like, if I was to make it up, I would want to headline my own show right in my own hometown. And sometimes when you local, people don't give you that credit that you really deserve, and I think that's what's happening. It's like if they see me on something, all it would take is like a little tweak, but we do good. Like, we still do good, but I'm just saying, like, taking it to another level. But I know it's some things that I need to do, as far as doing more, and, so I had to kind of step back and take care of my family during COVID. I had, I got a son. I waited till I'm, older to have a son, so I had to step back and set up some money, some real money, to really let me be free, because I want to do this forever. I don't want anybody controlling what I say. That's why you should come to the show, because I say stuff that you can't say on YouTube. You can't say online anymore. So you can't see this. I told my brother I'm going to call my first special Dinosaur, because the stuff that I'm going to say is extinct.
Yes, 100%.
Right?
That's awesome. One of my favorite memories was right after COVID. You came to do a show at the Addison Improv, and you sprayed down the mic stand.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like, "This isn't me. My wife made me do it." I was losing it.
I was the first time, and it's so funny, and I'm glad you laughed, but I was absolutely serious. My wife said, "You better stand back from people you wear masks, wipe the microphone down, spray it, this and that." Oh man, my wife wore me out, and I tell her now, You wore me out during COVID. I'm not doing this no more. When I stop wearing the mask, I'm not doing it. I don't care what they do.
Yeah, it was so good though.
Yeah,
it was
appreciate
hilarious.
it, man. I was really frustrated too. I think that was my first show too during that time, and I still haven't told her to this day that show. I think it was sold out something, and I took pictures with everybody in the room, and I didn't get sick.
That's freaking awesome.
Hey everyone, it's just Stuck jumping in to say thank you so much for checking out the podcast today. If you dig it, please head over to our website at improvtx.com, where you can check out our calendar for all the upcoming shows in Addison, Arlington, Houston, and San Antonio. And don't forget to follow our social media, all links in the description. And with that, back to the podcast.
What was it like the first time you headlined a show? Like when you were on the marquee and it was all about you and you had to do 40 minutes or whatever?
Well, honestly, when I first headlined the show, I wasn't on the marquee, but so I could talk about that moment. But I'll talk about when I first really headlined. You know, you start telling guys, like, you got 20 minutes. Like, that's what these comics do to me today, and I know I could tell when they don't. So the guy asked me, you got an hour? And at the time, I might have had 30 minutes. And I was like, oh, yeah, I got an hour. And I went out there. I rode a bus out. It was a bus trip. I remember the guys telling me, oh, just go out. This guy don't care. He like dirty comedy. I'm like, that's right up my alley. And I figured, so I went and I headlined it, and I did like an hour and 15 minutes.
You had 30 minutes and you did an hour and 15.
Yeah. He said, just do as long as you want. And I got into it. Like, it opened me up. You know, I started, and he liked dirty comedy, so everything was just coming to me, and I was stretching it out. So I realized, because sometimes you get used to doing 5 and 10 minutes. Like me, I can't really do anything with 5 and 10 minutes. Honestly, I can stay on one joke for 5 minutes. So I learned to, as I say a joke, I add to it. I got one joke I can do 5 minutes, I can do 10 minutes. And I would try things also. I would throw extra, especially if it's a really good crowd and they're laughing. You throw something extra, then you got an extra tag. You know, you just be in the moment. So I practice on so much of being in the moment. That's why I'm like that on stage, because I feed off of that. And that's why, like I said, it's harder for me to do videos, because I feed off the crowd so much.
Yeah.
And even if the crowd is not like that, I still feed off of just people being here. You know, because sometimes some crowds are different. A lot of people don't know. I had to learn that too, because somebody like, I didn't do as good as I did last time. But, I mean, crowds are different. Audiences are different. Some people want to give it up. Some people think you're funny, but they don't really want to laugh. I've had people sitting there looking at me after the show, man, like, oh, man, you were funny. They didn't have any reason to lie to me. I'm like, but you wasn't laughing. You wasn't, like, giving it up. I see some people like, oh, and they like, you at a comedy show, don't cover your mouth. That's what I mean. Like, we need to be schooled more in the South. I see that in the South more. In Texas, like, people, but like in New York, they giving it up, going down the aisles, doing cartwheels, slapping the chairs, beating the seats, hitting the floors.
That's awesome. We definitely need that here.
Right.
Because here it can be patchy. You know what I mean? Like, you're standing on stage and you got the left side of the room, front corner laughing, and then you got this guy on the right side in the back third seat laughing.
Right.
And you're like, how do you find a way to bring that audience together?
Yeah.
It's
tough, but I learned not to. Some comedians use that. They try to use that to take it personal. I've seen guys that's been in for years, and they try to, they see one person and they try to focus on them. And sometimes they don't crack them. That's why they don't show them on TV when they're trying to do that, because they don't crack the guy. Sometimes they do, but sometimes they just, they just be outlandish to crack him, But, and then that's the purpose, though, because I love the sound of laughter. It's something that's healing about it. I like to laugh, but it's harder for me to laugh. I laugh at goofy stuff. I like, funniest home videos, somebody walking into a screen door that's closed that they thought was open. Like, that's the stuff that's funny to me, I've heard so many jokes and watch so much comedy. Even if I don't laugh, I can say, yeah, that's funny, But I don't just laugh at. I mean, it's my job.
I think being here for 8 years, working at the comedy club, I laugh at the jokes in between the jokes, the little things people don't see, like in the setup or the twist or not so much the punchline anymore. It's all the stuff beforehand. Or if I see a comedian do something for themselves on stage, that makes me lose it. Like, I love that stuff. Yeah. But I really do want to talk about the fact that you are a roast master. Like,
yes, sir.
You get on stage, like you roasted me last week, I think, the way I was walking, and I thought it was hysterical.
Oh, sorry.
No, I didn't care. I thought it was hysterical. Because I was like, he's right. That's the way I'm walking. But like you're really good at that. Like, and I imagine with hecklers, you handle them the same way. Is that right?
Oh yeah, that's why I do it. But to me, it's like karate because I used to just do it, and some people get really mad. That's why I always, I'm sorry.
I was on stage. I had to.
But yeah. And some people don't understand, like they throw off your timing. Like some audience don't know that you have to have timing and you got to set up and a punchline. And if people don't hear your setup, then they don't understand the punchline. Then they won't think it's funny. So if somebody interrupts me, I just used to go off because I really would be mad, but I would be cracking jokes. So that's what my power was, so it's my strength. I've done it even before I started comedy. How it happened was I moved away with my mom. Her and my dad was divorced, and I moved away with her. And I met the guy she was messing with, his family members, and they was, oh, your mama so broke, y'all got to eat with food stamps. And I was, oh my God, I was appalled. I was crying. I was like 9 years old, I was crying. Then all of a sudden, we would have these hangouts where they was all around, and I started getting them.
Yeah.
I was just tearing them up. I mean, like, I was a kid, but I was the number one. Even some of the adults couldn't even handle me. And I would do it at school. Like, we was broke, but I had free lunch, but I was so proud I didn't want to get free lunch. Mm-hmm. I was embarrassed about that. So to not focus on my hunger, I would just sit in the hallways and talk about everybody that walked by, just off the top of my head.
Oh, wow.
And people would line up on the walls to see what I would say, and people would be scared, because some people wasn't aware that I was doing it, so they get talked about. But the people that was aware, they sit and just watch me do it and not want to walk by in school.
Well, how cool was that? You were doing comedy almost before you did comedy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was truly something I should do. You see a lot of guys, oh, my coworkers told me I'm funny. But that's different, because that's a moment, but it was a moment. But I actually got into the comedy.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things people don't realize is keeping somebody's attention for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, keeping a crowd's attention. That's hard. That's its own thing, you know what I mean? It's hard. And so you were doing that at a young age.
It's an extreme amount of focus.
Yeah.
Or fun. It's just something I did. Like, I used to play basketball for a church, right? When I was like in that same age range, 18, 19. And we would ride this bus, be an hour trip. I would just talk about guys the whole time. And I used to watch movies because there wasn't as much cable out, so I would do a lot of impressions of movies we've seen and just entertaining the whole time to keep us from being bored. I was so used to, I lived in the country, no cable. It was even barely regular television, nothing. Like, barely even had music. So we would just, joke on each other, play Nintendo and just joke all day.
Right.
Like, all day. And just
that's awesome because and I have to believe it, shit talk.
Yeah,
that turned into a profession for you. You know what I mean? How cool is that?
It is, and I really realized that was my calling. I was in a talent show and I was dancing. I could dance good when I was young, and I just you know what? I was like, I just quit. I just quit the dancing. I'm like, I'm not feeling this. And I went and talked to them. I said, why don't y'all just let me host a talent show since I'm the Joker? And they let me host a talent show at my high school. I remember Tisha Campbell was there because it was in Oklahoma. She had some kind of ties with Oklahoma. It was crazy, though. Then I watched Def Jam, and then that was me. I was like, I got to do comedy. I wrote jokes for 2 years before I even had the courage to get on stage.
Oh,
though.
wow.
I said, that's why I'm able to do what I do now is because I'm a writer. I've been writing for a long time, and I still write jokes to this day. And a lot of comics don't know that. They just think that people are talking, but I actually I got 2 backpacks full of jokes.
That's insane. Do you still use the jokes that you wrote for that time, or are they long gone?
Some of them are gone. Some of them come back to me, and I'll be like, wait a minute, That's why, Duck. I truly. If I had, the 22nd and 23rd, I got 2 shows, I could do 2 different 45-minute sets.
Yeah, I think I've seen you do that before.
Sometimes I change. I'm always changing it up. I'm always changing it up. I'm trying to pull something new, but sometimes I'll reach way back because there's something I hadn't done in so long. Like, I'm like, they haven't even seen me. Let me do this. Let me do that. Some jokes had to be, adjusted to the timeline, things like that. But, yeah, I have a lot of stuff. If I could really get it, because I have stuff that I, in my heart that I want to say. So sometimes I'm, in there, but I've been trying to break it up a little bit. I got a lot of new stuff, though, for the 23rd.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question. What is your writing process like?
It grew over the years. I've read books, but just to put it in a nutshell, I'll write the joke, set it up. And really, I don't really write it down. I used to just write it out. But now, if it comes to me, I write it down and look at it and say, okay, well, here's the setup, this is the punchline. But sometimes I'll just say it. Like, my thing is writing a joke. I might not have a joke written, but I'll go somewhere and just say it. Like I used to say about my son. Like, my son is black skin. I never meant that as a joke. He's black and Mexican. And I thought of that name. I mean, I'm not the first one. I'm sure I've seen it out there, but I thought of that name. You know, I got my black skin t-shirts. A lot of people see that and they say it. And as soon as I just say that word, so then I was like, all right, that works. That's black skin, right? So he's black and Mexican. I'll start mixing the culture. You know, I say, yeah, I make him some pork chop nachos, you know. Everybody know black people like pork chop and Mexican like nachos. So I make him some pork chop nachos, you know. And so so I start looking for, okay, food, okay, or places. Where would black people go mostly, you know? They would go to one of these big T bazaars or something like that. And we know in Texas, Mexican people are known for going to Traders Village.
Yes.
So I would say I would take him to Big T and Traders Village. You know, I want to let him see both sides of his culture.
That's so awesome. Dealing with stereotypes. That's something that comedians work with. And that becomes offensive to some people. The PC culture aspect of it. And that's what I always consider this stage or any stage the last vestibule of like free speech. Yeah. Where you can get up and say something. Like, it really is. In my set, I say the F slur. Like, I know I probably shouldn't, but I want to say it. And on the stage, I've said it many times. Yeah. And people will go, oh, or they'll laugh at it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I probably
just don't know what they're going to do.
You just don't know what they're going to do. But it's one of those things where we deal in stereotypes. We say things that probably people are not ready to hear. Right. But it's within truth. It's all within truth.
Yeah. But some people don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
That's the problem nowadays.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you. And that's the thing is they want to hide and they want to, like, we celebrate our differences. And that's the thing people need to realize. Like, when I'm talking about somebody, like, I'm celebrating them. You know what I mean? It's never to put them down completely. Right. It's to have a conversation. Like, I don't know if you noticed, my girlfriend is trans, okay? Right. So I have jokes about trans people. Yeah. And some of them are not very nice. Right. But
you are dating that person, so it's your experience. You're not saying it to be mean, and that's what I want to get about comedy. It's that people don't understand. We as comics, first, we humiliate ourselves.
Yes.
Number one. Yes. That's why we don't give a about what anybody else thinks of what we're saying. And that's just how we see it, but a lot of people don't understand that. They look at, if they see you just say a part about somebody else, oh, he's being cruel, or if they didn't hear that you said, you know, my girlfriend's trans, if they didn't hear that part, all they're going to be is offended what you say. Yeah. But the part when you say that's your girlfriend, then that's endearment. That's what people don't understand. Like, you're living that. That person knows you're saying these things. You're just really, and you could take that and make it relatable to like I guess what a heterosexual relationship. You could take that and say, well, I got the benefit of, it's so, I want to sit down and write some jokes for you because I'm thinking about a ton of jokes now you say that. But
well, that's the thing is it also gives me the ability to go and educate. You know what I mean? Right. Based upon my jokes, like I can show you that side of the world because not everyone knows what people who are trans are like, and they probably think it's crazy and weird and blah, blah, blah. And I get that, because I went through that whole phase of having those thoughts, too.
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, and it's an education thing, and that's something that you do. You're very good about educating and then do a punchline.
Right. No, man, I seen some trans men. I'd be like, if it wasn't for the other stuff I don't like, I might holler at him or her, whatever you're supposed to say. I don't even know what you're supposed to say. It don't matter, I don't know, but we don't try to offend nobody. We're just telling them our pain. And like you said, we get a connection, get a laugh. It makes us feel better. This is really therapy for me. I already tell people like this ain't, I used to have this phrase where I said, this ain't jokes. These are problems. And I see big time comedians saying these phrases that I thought of when they weren't even around that they might have seen me say. But nobody don't know me like them. So they thinking, oh, you took this from them. But, I've had a lot of big names, borrow a couple of jokes from me.
What do you do when that happens? Do you say something or you just let it go?
I used to be like, oh, I'm going to get on this warpath, but, y'all don't never see him. Yeah. One, I kind of was on tour with him, so it just kind of traded off.
Yeah.
I'm just like, bro, just tell me, I'll write something for you, But and another thing too, but some comics do it. Like if you watch enough comedy, sometimes you might accidentally, like I tell comics this: if you write a joke and the joke comes out perfect, 9 times out of 10 you heard it somewhere before. It's in your conscious, man, and it happens. And I've also wrote jokes that I've never even said, and then I've seen somebody else say that thing I was thinking. So that's possible. Absolutely. But a lot of guys, especially in my culture, they think it's okay. I have guys tell me, I do this joke, I do these jokes, I don't care. I'm gonna do whatever. They're doing whatever to make people laugh. To me, that's not the craft. And if it don't come from you in your heart, you're not a comedian either.
Yeah.
You're just what they call it, a jester. You just want people laughing at you. But the real comedian, like, I want the people to laugh at my pain so I can feel better about it. That's why I'm doing it. And I like to hear people laugh. I like the healing of it, the therapy of it. It's therapeutic. I mean, it's almost like a workout, right?
It sounds like you view it as an art form.
Absolutely.
And you respect it, and you respect the craft of it.
Right.
And so, did you always view it that way at first, or when you got, or were you just telling jokes and just trying to be?
I really wanted to do it. I was one of those, they say I'm funny, so I'm doing, but nobody really pushed me to do it but myself. I just fell in love with it. And once I did it, it's like you said, man, it's the bug. Regular people that's not a comedian don't understand. It is a bug. And I've seen a lot of people catch it, and I've seen a lot of people don't want to stop. I've seen some people quit over not doing it or life get in the way. The thing is, comedy has been here through my life through so many different phases that I've learned to, what am I going through now? I learned to express it in my comedy. So that's why it changed. That's why I couldn't do jokes that I did back that I wrote because it wouldn't fit my style anymore. That's why I'm always writing too.
So you constantly write? Are you constantly putting it on paper, or are you typing it out, or are you just thinking it through?
If something comes to my head and how I catch it is I write the subject now. Now, I've had a lot I've lost. I have a lot of, that's funny. Or a lot when I be real high and then I come down, I'll be like, that's not really that funny.
No,
that's not funny at all. I don't know what the hell I was thinking about. I had to stop writing jokes when I got high. I was like, you can't do that. It has to pass a sober test first. Because sometimes you think I got to that point where I thought everything was funny when I'm high. But I learned this. Some things I can write and I'll be like, I know that's funny. If I say they'll laugh, and I'll have to tell the crowd, that's funny. Y'all should have laughed. And I don't give up on it. I do a class too sometimes with the open mic comics, and I tell them, if you think of a joke and you write it and you tell it and the people don't laugh, that don't mean it's not funny. You're just not communicating the right thing to them to make them laugh. So you got to just work on the wording of it. That's why I say the wording is perfect. It's a timing thing that people don't realize. They interrupt you. They want a phone go off in the middle of one of your words. It's an important word that they have to hear during a joke. But it's kind of hard to explain comedy to normies because they don't get it. And it's like it's really like you're a magician to them. It's a mystic craft, but I understand it. But I really couldn't explain it to them. Like the things some of the stuff I'm talking about is like, because you're a comic, you actually been on stage, but it's still a mystery to some people.
Absolutely. But that's part of the fun is when you break it down, you start learning about the twist, the punchline, the tag, all the things, the timing, like how you need to focus on this side of the stage and that side of the stage and go in between. Like there's so much that goes into it. How to be present and in the moment and feel the room and the energy from the room.
Right.
Like sometimes the energy in the room is just dour. It's hard.
Yeah.
And then sometimes it's joyous, So it just changes. What advice would you give to people who are looking to get into comedy? People who are thinking about going to that first open mic or, just like people like me who are just starting out. What advice would you give?
Well, if you're looking to go to that first open mic, right now we do the Test Your Mic every Tuesday at the Improv at Arlington. It's the best place to start out and learn. I've had a lot of people come up here and, get out into the world. That's what I can say. Just get on stage as soon as possible, especially if you're young. I had a guy that was pretty old. He's like, you think I'm going to make it? I'm like, no, man, because you're not. You 49. You up here trying to do characters and you're not telling jokes. He'll be here tonight. He might be up here now. I'm trying to tell him how to write a joke. He's not listening. I like people have to be able to follow you. If you, I tell a lot of comedians that your first 3 jokes on stage must connect because you're establishing a pattern. And I had to tell a lot of them, let the crowd laugh. Don't just bull through it either. Don't just sit up. Some people have to do that to block people out, but you got to absorb the people and fill the room. You can't just blah, 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 because you're scared, so you just keep talking.
Keep talking, don't pause.
You're not listening. Yeah, you got to pause. You got to fill the room. You got to acknowledge the elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. You know, if you came in with a big, something on your face, you're like, yeah, I know I got something on my face. I was just waiting until, but if you get up there and something on your face, and I was at work the other day, and they're going to be looking, he got something on his face. They don't know that, though, man. They don't think about that.
But that's great advice, though, having the first 3 jokes connect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've never heard that before. Yeah. And I started thinking about my set, and I was like, oh, if I do that.
You see. Yeah. And another thing that they, told me when I was starting out, come out with your best joke and end on your best joke. And so I started doing that, and then I put one in the middle, and then everything else started, then everything started evening out. It's like, oh.
And that's the thing, is not every joke's a hitter. Sometimes you got in-between jokes,
Yeah.
There's different levels to laugh. There's different levels of funny. But when you're building a pattern of jokes, or you're beginning to string them along, it's just, not everything's going to be perfect and not everything's going to be super funny. But whenever you finally get confident in it, the chances of that joke that isn't the funniest joke is probably going to hit.
Right.
Yeah.
And then these comedians, they come at the open mic and they think, well, I said this little joke last week so everybody knows. Yeah, the comics know, and you know their jokes too. I had to tell them it takes 6 months to a year to work out a joke.
Yep.
So you just keep doing it. Don't worry about, they gonna know my jokes. You're not even that far along. I know some comics that's been doing comedy for a long time, and they're really funny. And they do the same jokes from start to finish, but people laugh at them real hard from start to finish. Because you see them come up here, do the same. You could time your clock to it. When they say a joke, you be like, all right, he about to get off stage, like right?
Yes.
From being here. But that's how you should be till you got everything is funny. That's fine. It's because they don't understand how hard it is come up with a 45-minute set to be banging like that all the way through to the front. So that's why sometimes you see headliners, they'll slow it down a little bit. And a lot of comics think they're funnier than the headliner because they're doing 10 minutes. Oh, it's funny. But you didn't have to worry about doing 45 minutes. That's a whole nother level. You can go up there and just bark off some jokes and get lucky for 10 minutes. But 45 minutes, you got to dig deep.
I can't even imagine how challenging it is.
But it's fun at the same time because it's always good to see like, what? I'm already at 40? Yeah. And I'm like,
I want to ask this real quick. Check drop. How do you deal with check drop whenever that happens? It brings down the energy in the room. People are looking at how much money they owe. Yeah. Do you attack it straight on and make a joke about it, or do you just kind of let...
I didn't really notice it here in the South. Like I said, that was something that brought my attention to when I was in New York, because they would do that and they would get serious. But like I said, the elephant in the room. You say, this is the moment to get quiet. Look at everybody. Truth. Everybody start realizing how much money they done spent tonight, and then they want to go home. They tired of me. Usually a check spot is in New York. They have a comedian that go out just for that time to do the check spot. So they kind of do it early so the headliner wouldn't have to deal with it. Right. So that's why, like, I could offer some advice to them, but you're not gonna avoid that. People gonna say that check. Everybody bringing out the checks. People people get serious, especially my people get serious about that money. Damn wings, that much? Damn, I didn't know them drink cost that much. So, you try not to get, it's kind of up to the club too to try not to get that involved, because people get so tight about their money. But then some of my people, they cool. All right, whatever, here it is.
Oh yeah,
and they just keep rolling. Yeah, that's the people we like, right?
Oh, it's awesome.
That's That's the people you like, because they truly came to have a good time. And I learned the best audiences in the world is a paying audience, because I've done some free shows. Man, they're the hardest people to make laugh. It's the hardest people to make laugh.
It is. It's rough. My final question for you: where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to be? Where do you see Joel Runnels Jr. at?
Right here. Yeah. I don't really care, Duck. I don't, it's not about making it big to me. I just want to express myself. Like I said, it's going to be called Dinosaur. I want people to come out and say, we got to see this guy, because nobody else saying this. But there's some comedians out there that does that. But you have to make it first before you do it. They won't let you come up saying things like, I've been coming up, but you know what I mean? Like, where I'm at in my position, where I'm at, I want to say what I want to say.
Right.
I've worked in radio before. I know how it works. They want you to say certain things, but they don't really want to have to tell you. So they want to have somebody that will do the things that they want without telling them, if you understand what I'm saying. So I just want to do comedy. I just want people to come see me. I want to continue to write material and grow and just get better and better. One thing I wouldn't mind doing is having a residence in Las Vegas like Red Fox. Once my son or my kids are old enough to be able to do that. But right now, I just want to be around my family, my son, make a living, and I want to do comedy. I want to do shows. I really want to film me an underground special.
Dude,
I was shop it.
I was thinking that.
Shop it.
Yes.
And see if I can
call it
see
Dinosaur.
if I can hit.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Let's do it. I want to break through like a different way, not through Hollywood. I don't have anything against Hollywood, but I just know how things work. And right now, like, you talking about all this other stuff going on about how this got to be. That's how certain things are. And I don't want to jump through any kind of hoops. I don't want anybody saying, okay, now it's time for you to wear your dress. I don't want to go through it. If I want to wear a dress, I will wear a dress. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. If I want to do that, I don't want to get a lot of money and then all of a sudden then they say, okay, now we need you to do this or you're not going to get no more money. I want to be responsible for my destiny. I want to, you know what I mean? Like, I want to control my destiny.
Well, I appreciate you being here on the podcast. I appreciate you talking to me today.
Thanks for having me.
The show's going to be on the 22nd and 23rd. So.
Hey, come see me. 22nd of December and the 23rd is Christmas Eve. The Arlington Improv show is 7:30 and 9:45. This is the last comedy show before Christmas because Christmas Eve, everybody going to be on the road or they're going to, do their food. Thursday and Friday, people should be through with their Christmas shopping. I know it's some last minuters, but it's going to be at night, so we are good. We're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be a Christmas atmosphere. I might give away a few gifts. I've been trying to debate. I really want to do something for the people that come. We'll see.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Come out.
It's going to be absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Joel Runnels Jr.
Thanks for having me.
Amazing. Like I said, one of my heroes. So this has been awesome to talk to you.
Doug.
And hopefully we're going to work something out where you get your own podcast in the network.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to figure that out.
Let's do that.
All right. So with that said, everyone, support local comedy in any way, shape, or form that you can. Yes. And we will see you on the next one.
And there it is. Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. If you enjoyed it, please head over to improvtx.com to check out all our upcoming shows at the Addison, Arlington, Houston, and San Antonio clubs. If you like this podcast, you might enjoy the other podcasts on the Improv TX Comedy Network. We have The Act Out. From open mics to the big stage, comedians tell us the story they've made, where I talk to comedians from all over and chat about their journey this far. Also, check out the Black Dog Retro Arcade podcast. Straight from the arcade, we talk about how our favorite games were made. That's right, we're talking all that video game goodness. And finally, we have Quacking Up, a storytelling podcast where we pick suggestions from a hat and tell stories based upon them. Once again, thank you so much for listening. Please check out our social media, all links in the description. And with that, we'll see you on the next one.